Very serious stuff. Children used as explosives. Almost impossible to believe, but it's happening more often by terrorists now, like the Iraqi terrorists who drove a car past a security checkpoint using two kids as decoys in the back seat. The adults then ran out and blew up the car by remote control. The children were still inside and they were blown apart. And Muslim extremists gutting the bodies of dead children, filling them with explosives set to detonate when their parents come to claim them. How come we don't hear Muslim groups denouncing these heinous crimes? Let's ask Hussein Ibish with the Foundation for Arab American Leadership. Mr. Ibish, good to see you again. Now, why the silence? It's definite.
Yeah, I don't think there's silence at all. I think that the American Muslim community reacts the same way all Americans react to this, with absolute horror. But the thing is that
in Hussein, let me just stop you there. I understand you're saying it now. I appreciate that, but I've gone on the CARE website. I've gone up and down looking for condemnation of these acts. I don't see it.
Here's the thing. I mean, the American Muslim organization, the American Muslim community, it doesn't identify with the terrorists. We identify with the victims. I mean, the way you frame it is if somehow we are somehow suspected of being in sympathy with this insane killers, with child murderers,
why don't I hear it shouted from the rooftops? Why isn't it the first issue that CARE and groups like yours are talking about?
Of the victims. I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's nobody killing more Muslims in the world than Muslim terrorists. Why isn't that your number one priority?
And in fact, if you go back to that website you just mentioned, they have a very long list of condemnations of terrorism. And I think that the community has been very forthright in condemning all kinds of different terrorism since September 11th, when I went blue in the face condemning it, and even before when I was criticizing.
I remember
suicide bombings
you did do that, but anybody can go into the CARE website, anybody out there, and see that it's not leading the list of complaints by CARE.
Let me make that. They have to speak for themselves. But here's the point. The community does not identify with the insurgents. The community identifies first and foremost.
Well, you call them insurgents. Why don't you just call them terrorists? That's one thing that bugs me.
Well, wait a second. Let me finish my point. The community identifies first and foremost with the American service people in Iraq, because there are at least 8,000 or 9,000 American Muslims serving with distinction in the U.S. Armed Forces.
There sure are.
And by the way, the war was run by an Arab American general, General Abi Zaid, for a long time. Secondly, it identifies with the Iraqi public and the victims of these kind of killers. It does not identify with the extreme insurgents. It does not identify with Al-Qaeda. It does not identify with the
Why don't you just use the word terrorist, Hussein? Why don't you just say terrorist?
It's no problem. I mean, I'm happy to do that. And I mean, I think that everyone is against terrorism, and we're against the murderers and the killers.
You know, one reason why words are important is because they do motivate action. Reuters news agency, when describing that first horrific incident where they put the kids in the backyard, they wouldn't use the word terrorist. They called them insurgents.
This is as much a terrorist action as anything you can imagine. It's insane. I think you have to be completely out of your mind to do it. But again, to come back to my point, when the lunatic Zarqawi was killed, I wrote a piece in the Chicago Tribune saying, I'm glad he's dead. The point was not for me to say to other Americans, I'm glad he's dead, but rather to talk about the reasons why I felt forced to say something that should be taken for granted. And this is my point. It's sort of silly,
my point is,
it's actually completely unacceptable
totally run out of time.
Asking that every time there's an atrocity.
Hussein Ibish.
Well, hold on.
Hussein, I wish we had more time, but we simply don't. It's that simple. But we thank you for coming on.
I think these kind of questions really have to stop. I'm glad you do shout it
from the rooftops if other organizations do not. Coming up, Menu Foods finally speaking out about that huge pet food recall. Why did it take so long? That's what my next guest wants to know. And then too much